welcome to Crown and Root Podcast. Hi, my name is Kelly, aka Darkstar, and I co create authentic branding and websites for spiritual entrepreneurs who want to feel empowered and grow their business. You can find me at darkstardesignstudio.com.
Hi, I'm Amy Sabatino. I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium. I offer spiritual services that provide clarity in a safe space for answering questions about the past, present, or future. To find out more, visit amysabatino.com. So actually this week, we're going to be talking about manifestation. Kelly and I had recently had a discussion about manifestation and how we each kind of perceive it, connect to it, go about really putting our energies into it. And when we had talked about this, it really had led up to some, philosophical discussions, especially for me, there was a lot of concepts about like the order and the natural rhythm of things. And I don't necessarily mean our perceived rhythm that many of us hold in society now, but I do mean the natural rhythm and kind of flow and direction that our true souls, like ourselves, like our highest selves, are really supposed to be walking in and carrying that energy of, and the path that is, and the people we connect with, and the energy we share, and the way it spreads out. And through this, I told her that at times, for me, especially like from having witnessed other people, now I'm not saying everyone does it this way. I know many people who manifest in beautiful, harmonious ways, but there are some people who I felt like there's a manifestation, but it to me sometimes felt more like it goes against, or it even is like a manipulation or forced, more of a forced energy, I guess would be the right word, to the flow of how things are. And to me, there's like this deep respect to really being in flow and really connecting to, I guess the best way I describe it would be natural order of things. And so, we got into this discussion about like, well, what is that separation and manifestation? And yes, some of it's intent, but it's not just intent. It's about, I think how would you say, did we kind of come down to a sense of perceived ego? Was that, what was the word you used? I forget. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think ego certainly came into it, and kind of that whole, we as humans like to, or I guess we as beings having a human experience like to think that we know kind of what we need and what is best for us, but there are a lot of times when it's just not what we think it is. Um, but there are some people who, go after that no matter what. And it does kind of feel like it's from, more of an ego based place, because it feels like it's one of those, this is what I need. I know I need this. I'm going to do everything I can to get this. But it's also like going against kind of what maybe is actually best for you, and it's like closing you off from anything else coming in that might be better for you. So kind of, yeah, from that aspect I would say it feels like it has some ego in it.
And
That's
so our
driving that.
conversation had definitely led to us talking about how you have to trust, right, the
Mhm.
universe, and how, it's really important to keep that intention of highest and best.
Right.
And so that we don't fall into that kind of ego concept of, I know what's right for me, this is the only thing that's right for me.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't fit or work or really wouldn't be in my highest and best, I'm doing it anyways. And so we had talked about, after we had talked about this, we kind of like talked about how, what are the ways that people do bring manifestation in? What are the ways that people go about manifesting? How do they really, really connect to that energy? And so, through that conversation, I had mentioned at one point that like I really felt that I really felt I was in a place where I kind of like, it took me a moment. A good friend had to remind me, let's put it this way. But I really felt like I was in a place where I was like, oh, well, I don't know if I have manifested
And I was kind of in a space where I was thinking about like, had I really sat down and had I really, really put my intention and all my energy into this one concept. And the closest I came was like, oh, once again, through a good friend's suggestion, not really pointing any fingers, but she might
Me.
be right here, right now. Do you know what I mean? But yes, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. But yes, and so they had mentioned to me, well, why don't you write down what you want and you don't want. And that was as close as I come to really put in what I would consider manifestation energy in. But there was this whole process where Kelly started to ask me some questions about manifestation. And it was very much based off of like, well, when you do think of manifestation, how do you see yourself go about it? What are some of the things that I was like, well, I only do it when I'm in flow. I only touch it when I feel like I'm in a good space. Cause, otherwise, like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm sure we all know some people who, you kind of look at it and you go, oh, wow. Yeah. All right. We really know how to mess things up sometimes. Right. And so, as humans, being human, we do make mistakes, we do error. And I feel that sometimes spirit God knows better than we do. I really, really do. So
Mhm.
I'm much more likely to say, all right, I'm going to trust the universe on this one. Because yes, we're in a place where we can't always see the big picture, what really is in our highest and best.
Right.
And so we started discussing, well, that one of the key components for me is that I only even begin to put my intention out there really, or my will even a little bit, in any sense, even mentally, once I'm in a better space. And once I feel more in flow, and that
Mhm.
flow is kind of more what the word I have been used as a natural order,
Right.
the natural kind of pattern, the universal flow. And so through this discussion, we really kind of started to dive deep into, how manifestation looks for each of us.
Mhm.
And, I think that's like Kelly had mentioned, like, this is a really important conversation to be had, because for me, it was very much a thing where, oh, I know, but I don't really do that. And I don't really do this, and so I wasn't quite quantifying things in the
Right.
same
Because
sense.
you felt like, well, first of all, you felt like you didn't manifest, but then
Not
mostly
in
it
a
was
true intention
right.
way, not like in a way I have with other things. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like not even the same strength of which I pray. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like if I'm sending prayers for someone, like I feel like I put more in that
Right.
focused moment. Do you know what I mean? In more of a
Right.
quote unquote, I guess, ritual sense, I
Mhm.
might light a candle, I might write their name on paper. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I put that energy outward, I have something that I usually like, I don't know, I love flowers. So especially if it's healing energy, I might find like a flower and pop it in a vase and like bring that in. But like, like that's more than what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? So
Right. Right. And then you also thought that, or you kind of felt that, um when you understood yourself to be manifesting, you felt like you never did it like the same quote unquote way that other people manifested.
or even
You
the
know,
same way myself, to be
right,
honest, like even the ways I have in the sense of now retrospectively looking back,
right.
that concept, I wouldn't even say they're all the same even in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we started talking about how, you know, from my perspective, when we're in flow and we manifest while we're in flow, it doesn't feel quote unquote like manifesting because it just comes in so naturally, right? Like we were talking about with you making the list of the things that you wanted and didn't want. And when we were having this discussion about manifestation, we went back and looked at the list, and like everything that you had listed that you wanted, you had gotten, but
Yeah.
but you didn't quite see it that way because to you it didn't feel like you put the energy into those things. You just, wrote them on a list, but then you trusted the universe, and the universe provided. And so it was kind of one of those like, well, did I actually manifest this or not? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, you did. You were just in flow with the universe, and so it had no problem bringing you those things, and it came in very naturally, and it came in a way that to you didn't feel like manifestation, but it was.
Absolutely. And I think, when we talked about that, when we talked about how like kind of the different perspectives, I think that's where I think that's pretty much where it is though. Like for people, I think, how do I put it? But like I think we can kind of get caught up in this idea of what each thing means, whether it's a terminology, a definition, connotation even.
Hmm.
And I think those moments we kind of get blindsided by the energy of what it is, which transcends all of those,
Right.
and so I definitely think that, for me, manifestation, like now, like even now looking back, I actually am like, oh my God, I think I do a lot of art manifestation.
Hmm.
And I hadn't really thought of that. But like that is a place where I can put dreams, fears, hopes, desires, right? It's art. You can put anything. Like it doesn't even have to be realistic.
Right.
Right? It doesn't even
Oh,
have to be anything, could be abstract. Yes.
yeah. No, I was just thinking about my birthday when you came down to visit me for my birthday, right? And we decided to go axe throwing.
Yes.
And so we went axe throwing. It was so much fun.
Oh my
But
God. So much
there
fun.
was also one of the women who worked there had just that earlier that day gotten a puppy. And so she had a puppy in the axe throwing place. It was very safe. The puppy was in a different separate area from the axes. Don't worry. Puppy was fine. Puppy was adorable.
No
But so
animals were harmed in
yeah,
the process of the axe throw, just to be
no
clear.
animals were
Okay.
harmed. Puppy was very, very safe and very well loved. Got lots of pets and got lots of kisses and um. But so we had X throwing, we had puppy, and then Amy. I don't know how you actually did, but Amy, for whatever reason, like talked to this woman who had the puppy, and she had a bunch of like plant cuttings that she was rooting in like bottles of water. And did you like say
So
that what did you say to
so
her?
I went up there and I think I was asking a question because like this was my first time axe throwing. So I was like, all right, I don't know anything. So I went up there and I think I had a question. And of course there was a puppy. I mean, like, yeah, I went to go see the puppy too, guys. Like, yes, that's it was adorable. Like, and so I went up there and I was like, oh wow, I love that you guys have plants in here. I was like, is like who does that or something? And she was like, oh, these are all mine, blah, 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 blah. And then she started telling me that she grows them, she splices them. I'm not gonna lie, I garden a little bit, but like I'm not up to date. So like some of the things she said, I'm like, okay, don't know exactly what you mean, but yeah, I get it. Germinate. Yes, we're on target.
Yeah.
I know what that means. We're good. But and so I was like, oh yeah, well, actually, my friend talking about Cal over here. Like
Mhm.
I was like, I swear, you had a shirt on.
I
And
did.
said,
It said, "I wet my plants."
yes,
Yep.
yes. And so I pointed to you, and then she saw your shirt.
Mhm.
And I was like, but I was like in the process of going, my friend really likes to garden, in case you
Mhm.
couldn't read the shirt, just in case. And so she was like, oh my God, the shirt, that's so cute. And then I was like, yeah. And so anyways, I'm here for her birthday. And the
Mhm.
woman's like, oh my God, I was gonna go talk to her anyways because of her shirt. And then she was like, because like fellow planters beware,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like you guys can recognize each other. Like it's like an energetic thing. I don't know. Like I said, I just have like an aloe and now another plant because someone brought me one because my aloe didn't
Aw.
quite make the move. So
Oh,
we're
no.
loving, we're rebuilding our plant.
There you
Okay.
go.
But in that sense, I really do feel that like there's some sort of like, I don't know, like namaste, I see your soul, you see mine kind of concept for you plant guys. So just
Mhm.
know you are not alone. You are all connected. It's not just the roots of your plants. All right. So, but with that, and so she was like, oh my God. And I don't know, like it's like she was like a wizard. She just spun around and she like for a nanosecond, she just had this like little plant here. And I was like, oh, where'd that come from? It wasn't on the sill with all the other ones. I have no idea where she got that from. She's like, actually, I just had too many. I brought it in. And then she just like walked over to you. And then like I have no idea what happened after, but you guys went off into your own conversation about
Yeah.
plants for a moment and then puppies. And I just remember sitting back and like just look at it and going, Kelly did this.
But so
She
that's
made this happen. You don't find puppies at an axe place, guys. Like, I mean, maybe you do, but like, I don't. I didn't think other people did. And then the plants, and
Mhm.
she literally, like, the one thing, like, she had one rule. Like, this was the one thing we could not do for her birthday. It was very clear. It was, she does not need any more plants for her birthday.
Yeah.
That was like, no one gift her plants, no one help her buy them. Don't give her a gift card to a
Mhm.
store where you could possibly
Mhm.
potentially purchase a plant, because she was planted out. All right. We had reached a max here. And she goes to an axe throwing bar.
Yeah.
And there's puppies, which I don't know if you don't realize she loves dogs, like
Yeah.
a lot. Like, don't
Yeah.
challenge that. All right. There
Yeah.
is no
And we
room
were
for
just talking
error
about how, like,
with-
I was gonna bring up, I've brought up puppies or dogs in like every other episode, and this one was gonna be no different. And guess what? It's no different.
It's no difference, but you manifested a plant to take home.
Yeah.
So she gave
Two
it to her,
plants. She
by
gave
the
me
way.
two. She gave me two plants.
Two
And
plants.
but so that's what I want to talk about manifestation is I clearly did not go into that evening going, I want puppies and plants at an axe throwing bar, right? That's
That's just her
not,
subconscious soul cry.
I
It's just
mean, yeah, but but it was never a conscious thought in my mind of like, oh, I'm gonna go here and somehow, some way, there will be puppies and plants. No, that was not. I was in flow that evening with the universe because that's what we had decided to go axe throwing because Amy had never been, and I had been once and really enjoyed it. And so I was like, let's go try this. I think it'll be really fun. And so that was my intention, right? It was my birthday. I just wanted to have fun with my best friend, and my brother came with us. But so because I was like open, right? I was open to the universe. I was trusting the universe. I was open to other things coming in. I was just open to like having a good experience. Found puppies and plants at an axe throwing bar. And and it's so strange to talk about, but I do agree. Like in that moment, it was never like I personally did not have the thought of, oh, I manifested this, right? It took you saying you manifested that for me to step back and go, I did, and this is what I personally feel like manifestation is it's you don't even know you're doing it because it comes in so naturally, and because when you're in flow, the universe, like I really, really think that the universe is always trying to help us. It is always trying to give us what we want and what we need. But we tend to get in our own way, and we tend to block it from doing that based on, many, many different things, right? Could be cycles, could be patterns, could be just, how we're feeling in that moment, whatever it is, beliefs. Yeah. But I truly think that the universe is always trying to help us and always trying to give us what we want and what we need. And a lot of times what we think we
hold
want
on,
and need.
what we want. Oh, well, okay.
Well, I was just gonna say,
okay, yeah.
what we think we want and need is very different from what the universe may think we want and need, right? Like because clearly I said I don't want any more plants for my birthday because I at the time.
Did you ever say that, or did you say I shouldn't have any more plants? I feel like it was a little bit more of a like I should not / where could I put them? I can't.
Yeah,
in a physical sense.
yeah.
I don't know that you ever said I don't
No,
want.
that's
It was
true.
more like
may
I
not have
can't
said
house or I don't have room.
And yet,
which is all
and
true.
now I have like so that was before I made the plant wall. So I had built shelves for plants in front of my window in my bedroom, and then somehow ended up with more plants because now that this is the other thing too, now that I've opened myself up to plants, people just keep giving me plants. And like if that's not manifestation, I don't know what is, because I got these two huge, they're like 4 feet tall snake plants, and they're huge. And when I got them, someone gave them to me, and I was like, where am I gonna put these? But of course, I found room for them.
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to say, it's amazing how many times over
Yeah, I
the
know.
last, while, a long while
Yeah, I
now,
keep
how
my
you've been
my
like, I
carpentry
can't have
skills
any
are.
more. I don't have any more robe. And then like, it's almost like, it's like, I don't know, like, I feel like you're like in like a Willy Wonka house or something.
Yeah.
Like suddenly
They've
there's more
started
room.
to spread out, creep out into the kitchen too. I have a couple plants in the kitchen now. But anyway, but back to manifestation, like that is pure manifestation right there, right? I open myself up to one thing, and then the universe is like, you should have done this ages ago. Now we're gonna throw it all at you at the same time.
Yeah.
And so now I have 2 walls of my bedroom that are basically just covered in plants because I keep getting plants somehow. And I don't even like buy them. I bought 1 plant. It was on my like really want list. But I bought 1 plant, but all the other
That one
ones.
doesn't count, by the way, guys. That's not a real plant. Just
Oh,
in case
well
you were wondering, because
that
because
one
it's a
plant
want list.
that one plant, I repotted it and split it into 4 different plants. So now I have 4 of the same plant. Oh no, it was 5 because mom took
So,
one to the
so
office.
that's like me, like that's like buying a jumbo size something and then being like, but I only bought 1, but it really has like a 12 pack inside.
Exactly. Yep.
And you're like, no, technically you bought 12 because it's a 12 pack, but it came in 1 bundle. It was all wrapped together. It was shipped in a box, 1 box.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So-
I
and
mean,
also it's on the want list.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, but that's what manifestation is, isn't it? Is when you open yourself up to something and you allow the universe to bring it to you. And I love snake plants. I started with a snake plant. Did I ever expect to get 2 4-foot tall snake plants? No, but it happened and I did not refuse it. And that's the other thing too. I think that we didn't quite touch on. Well, we did, but not about manifestation, is about how we also tend to block ourselves from accepting what the universe brings in too.
Yes, the receiving.
Yes, the receiving. Yes, how we can have, struggle with receiving what the universe brings in. Because I could have very well said, I don't have room for those 2 snake plants, find someone else. But it felt very much like,
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
okay.
I'm so sorry. I tried, but like I feel like this is a lot of some justification for why you should have more plants. And I feel like I could be a bad friend if I don't just point that out. Okay.
I mean, but so that's the thing, right? Is where do we draw the line between like justification and like accepting manifestation? And that's kind of, I think, something that we all struggle with. But I'm just saying, it feels so looking back, and I say this in all seriousness, it feels very much like, and I just have this feeling that if I had said no to those 2 snake plants, I would have stopped there with plants, right? The universe would have been like, oh, she doesn't want any more. She's not going to get any more.
Guys, we cannot have that.
No,
all right,
absolutely.
that
all
could
the plans.
not happen. Did you hear that? She's like, I just be
All the
done.
plans.
We couldn't just be done.
Yeah,
no. Okay.
No. But I mean, but it is a thing, isn't it? Is that we do have the tendency to block ourselves from receiving what the universe is trying to give us, because we kind of sometimes have this idea of like, how do I put it? I think, and I know I've done this myself, is, when something comes into our lives, like if we're trying to manifest something and the universe is trying to bring it in, but it's bringing it in a different way than we expected it to, there are times where we'll say, oh, that's not exactly what I wanted. I'm not going to accept that. When in reality, like, that's how the universe is bringing it in, so accept it. I mean, it's a weird thing, because there are so many cases where we do get in our own way, and sometimes for very, very valid reasons. And I'm not saying you have to always accept everything that everyone hands you, because no, sometimes you shouldn't accept candy from strangers. But like there are times when we keep ourselves from, accepting that which we're trying to manifest. Especially if it comes in a different way than we were expecting it to. And
Yes.
I think that's, kind of difficult because, I mean, back to plants. Say I wanted a specific plant, right? And another plant came in. I mean, first of all, I would never I would never reject another plant. But maybe I might be more
Guys,
hesitant
I'm
to
enabling, aren't
you
I?
are enabling. I might be
I'm
more
enabling.
hesitant to accept a plant that is not on my like wanted list.
I'm I know you said like no, seriously, but
Yeah,
I'm
no,
trying.
seriously.
I'm
No,
here.
it's fine.
I'm
It's
here.
fine. It's plants.
Okay.
It's cool. I love my plants. Oh,
I know
they're
you
so
do.
beautiful.
I know you do. But
Um,
we need to work a little bit on it. Just a
I
little
mean,
bit. She's like, you don't have to accept everything. But I mean, I would never say no to a single plant. But no. I mean, obviously, there's limits and boundaries. But but like this plant, there's always room, like I'm just
well,
like, okay.
okay, here's an example of one that I
It's
couldn't
worse than I
accept.
thought. Okay. This is me
We
realizing
had,
it's worse than I thought.
well, I mean, it's plants, but you know what? They're cleaning my air. They're pretty.
They keep you from becoming a cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. They keep
It
me from becoming a
balances.
cyborg. Yes, because I could very easily turn into a cyborg. Um, but where was I even going with
Not
that?
easily, by the way. Remember, we talked
No.
about this.
No, you would not let me become a cyborg. It's fine. It's fine. I'll just sit here with my computer on my lap and my 5 wires coming out of my computer that are all draped around me.
Surrounded in a jungle of plants, though. See the
Yeah,
balance? Like, do you know what I
exactly.
mean? No,
Yeah,
no.
I'll just like become fused to a computer, but I'll have plants around me. So it's balanced, right? It's totally balanced. But anyway, back to manifestation. Where were we going with this?
Okay,
Oh,
so I know. Oh, well,
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think so before we started this episode,
so we had talked about like what is force and what isn't, right? And
Mhm.
so then as we were talking about and kind of just getting into the energy for this podcast, we were literally talking to each other and I was like, okay, well, what else do you feel, I think, connected or pulled to? I use some sort of terminology like that.
Mhm.
And so Cal tapped in and Kelly was just like, all right, she's if you want, you were saying
I was basically saying, like, I started seeing
a web, right?
a web
Matrixy
of
web.
yeah, like a matrixy web. It was like silvery and glowy, and it was really pretty, and it was encompassing or surrounding the whole planet. But it was, as I kind of zoomed in, could see like each person was connected to it. And it was one of those things where I got this feeling that it connected to manifestation. And then I said the words, I think, like, how is manifestation impacted by, or how is our manifestation impacted by the people around us? And then Amy was like, we need to start, or I was like, we need to start recording before Amy says something else, because then we're just going to miss exactly what we're trying to say.
Which I mean may or may not have happened many times, but yes. So then we basically started to jump back into this because essentially that really brought up the other part of kind of a discussion I wanted to have, where we talk about like the natural flow of things. We talked a little bit about manifestation. We talked about kind of that forcing of the energy, really changing the trajectory that you're already on. And then there's this concept of, okay, well, the impact of others and the connection of others and how even other people's wills and manifestation of their own intent come into play, because not everyone has the same wants or energies or even lessons or whatever that is coming to them. And so it's a very, in a sense, individualized, right? But we are all connected. And so they do have an impact. And that really brings into like, for me, kind of the morality of, if we're going to be aware, how aware do we need to be of the impact our manifestation has on others, in a sense of kind of like, I don't know if this is like a term or a thing, but like manifestation, social responsibility, I guess. Like, I'm not sure what like the label I would give
fantastic.
that.
Oh, I love that.
That might have been too HR. I don't know, but
I mean, but it really does kind of nail the or hit the nail on the head, doesn't it? Because it does kind of have because when we think about even when we were having our discussion the other day or yesterday, whatever it was about manifestation, we were so focused on like your specific manifestation, right? We didn't even talk about how it could impact other people. But in thinking about it and like
well, that's why I was like, oh my God, are you in my head? Like, I didn't ask that question out loud. I was like, that's why I
yeah,
started
because we're
laughing because
connected.
I was like, actually, yeah, I had that a question
Yeah.
about that. Yes, that was actually something I wanted to talk to you about because I really do feel like, so there's like this kind of concept of like being, and obviously like I kind of safeguard everything highest and best for me, highest and best for others, try to do things for, from a place of love and high vibration light, trying to make sure that like I am at least trying to bring a positive, beneficial kind of energy around me
hmm
and to others. But at the same time, it does kind of like bring in that sense of, I don't know, like just kind of like that hyper awareness, I guess, if I dare say, of how kind of like different to me. So to me, right, as how I perceive it, um, you sometimes can literally feel them off of people.
Right.
Like feel it to other people would probably describe it as like, oh, did you feel that? I feel like their intent is off or something.
hmm
Or I feel like their energy is off, right? But sometimes it's literally like their direction, like the direction they're headed, the direction they're going.
Right.
And so, to me, it's kind of one of those things where like, you do sometimes feel that around you. And I think that's like, it's not so much, we talk about boundaries and we talk about like really setting the stage for what you want to bring in, manifestation, all these things. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, if you are in a place where, you can kind of like be aware of what other people are trying to bring in. It's not so much boundaries for the present, but it's like kind of this like intuitive alignment that I
hmm
think you can kind of feel. I'm sure there's other ways to sense it, but for me, it's like I'm like it's a feeling, like a legit feeling, and I think that's like where the flow comes in.
hmm
Going back to talking about the flow, I feel like, sometimes we meet people and I don't know if anyone's ever felt this, but it's like you're like something's off. Like it just doesn't feel like we were meshed, we get along. They didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't so much like anything of a weird exchange. It wasn't even necessarily about tensions in the room or anything like that. But you can just kind of get the sense. And I wonder if that's more about like their future trajectory and what they're pushing for, what they're pulling for, what they're
Right.
trying to align with, and how like maybe it's not in the now, but it's kind of more in the forward. And I think that's why like when we talk about manifestation, I kind of, this is my own personal belief, but I believe like when you're manifesting, like yes, manifesting the highest and best for others, as well as yourself if you can, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Like you try to include highest and best for all, not just yourself when you can. But at the same time, I do think like, trying to manifest things that involve other people.
Right.
I think sometimes we get very like, well, this is where I wanted to kind of bring this up. It's not so much that I have a solid concept of it. It's more just like kind of hypothetical questions, I suppose. But like in the sense, like it kind of brings to question this thought of like, for me, I really feel like while manifesting, I don't know that I would bring a specific person into something. So
Well,
for example, let's say you and me had a project, right?
mhm.
And we want to get this project off the ground, blah, 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 blah. It's a great project. We're both hyped. It brings our strengths in. We're super awesome at it. We're like, yay, we're going to love it. It's going to be fun. We're going to rock it. It's great, right? But like, I'm like, okay, I want this done this year. I'm trying to like, I want to be able to do it in a certain way. Let's say I have these concepts of how it would help or, help me evolve or whatever, right? And you do too, right? But like, let's say I start to manifest and I go, I want to do this exact project with you. and
Mhm.
that's my full focus. Like, I don't know, like I if we both on the same page, then I would assume everything goes swimmingly, right? But
Mhm.
part of me kind of feels like, wouldn't it be better instead of just saying like that's specific, right? Getting into
Mhm.
specifics like person, project, exact thing. Wouldn't it be much better to just kind of like hit the wants and the needs in their more root energy? Because that's where my question came up with. That's why I started giggling too, because I had this question of others, right? Others
Mhm.
manifestation, others energies, how it impacts us, how we impact them. And then it comes into like, but also like, wouldn't it be the stronger kind of form of manifestation in the sense of if you focus more on the root of want? So let's say the want was expansion. Let's say the want was evolution. Let's say the want
Mm.
was connection.
So
Let's,
kind of focusing more on a broader topic essentially.
yes.
And I wanted to kind of just thinking about what you manifested recently and how there were other people involved and how, you know, you essentially got everything that you had written down on your want/need list or whatever in one way or another, not exactly how you wanted it, but there was also something that came in for specifically for one of the other people.
Yes.
So something came in specifically for one of the other people that was not on your specific list. And but to me that
Well, it
feels
kind of was because it
it
was
was, but
important,
right,
but
it was
not in that way.
important.
It
Right,
never had it in
exactly.
that way. No, no, no. I
Right,
hadn't thought of that.
right. But because you kind of, you kind of made your list including the people who would also be affected, right?
Yeah.
And so actually both people who were impacted
No,
got
yep.
to,
Well,
their
that's
own
why I mean they
thing.
were on my list. It just
Right.
it wasn't necessarily in the
It
exact
wasn't
way. It wasn't at all
exactly.
actually in the exact way. Both
Yeah.
of them were I visioned them both
Yeah.
differently. Well, not envision because I never got that vision. Like it was
Right.
so weird. I was waiting for the
Right.
vision, never got the vision. But anyways, but that the way I assumed, I don't know, the way my mind made it up, I guess I would
Right.
say, like the way I had kind of pictured it would be how
Right.
people would describe
Right.
that. There we go. I'm like, how do I separate visions from like the things
Yeah.
we visualize in our heads?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yes, so like the way I pictured it wasn't exactly how I pictured it. Going off of what I had already had before and known.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was still, yeah, absolutely hit
Yeah.
the check mark.
And so to me, like knowing that you were in flow with the universe when you manifested this, and knowing that your intention was highest and best for you and the other people involved, it feels to me that the universe was like, okay, yeah, we got this, and it, you know, I have no idea what the two other people were, expecting, or what they were trying to manifest or visualize or anything like that. Um, but I know that from your perspective, you basically got everything that you had asked for, including the things you had asked for or not asked for the other people too. And I think that that's kind of a big thing about manifestation too, when you're involving other people, is that, yes, you can focus on just the things that you are trying to manifest for yourself, but I think even just having that awareness of other people who are, at least that of, directly impacted by what you're manifesting, already opens you up to receiving things that may be unexpected but may be beneficial to everyone involved, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I say like kind of keeping it open though, not
Mhm.
as specific.
Right.
Because I feel like through that open energy is really where you start to connect and feel it.
Yeah, and I've definitely, I know for me personally, whenever I'm manifesting something, it's a lot, it comes in a lot more easily when I don't have a clear picture of what it quote unquote should be, right? So when I
Oh, that's interesting. I did say I never got the picture.
right.
Oh, well,
And
actually, in this case, I was looking for a vision. I never got
right.
that vision as far as like, I think I saw like stone at one point. I was like,
Right.
okay, cool. A little bit of stone. That's like a snippet of like not even a quarter of like a picture.
Yeah.
Like,
But I, looking back kind of on all the things that I've manifested when in flow, um, it always feels like it's one of those things that I actually may not put a lot of energy into, consciously manifesting something, right? Because when I'm in flow with the universe and I'm manifesting something, it doesn't feel like manifestation. It feels like just this is what's naturally supposed to
yeah,
happen.
it's just the
And
order.
yeah, it's just that's, universe is
flow.
like, oh, thank God she's finally open. Let's just give her the stuff. And so to me, when it impacts other people, even if they are not in flow, I think our awareness of how it, or our awareness of the fact that they are impacted still helps the universe to bring whatever it is in a way that benefits all, especially if we live our lives, highest and best for us and those around us kind of thing, so that's, I don't know, that's kind of my thought is like, I understand that there are a lot of people who, when they manifest, get incredibly, incredibly specific because they feel that that is exactly what they want slash need, and they
And
focus
some of
on.
them it works for.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
honestly works for. Like
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of why I bring up this discussion because
Yeah.
going back to the previous discussion we had before, but like
Yeah.
the one size fits all kind of form of manifestation. And really like there's so many ways people do it that like, yes, sometimes even just your word and your intention
Mhm.
being very specific, being
Mhm.
very focused, even picking like even picking an area of life and an exact direction that you want to go into. And yes, that can work. And but at the same time, like what's the difference between like what's the energetic difference between being specific versus not specific? What's the energetic difference between how people manifest? And that's the thing. Like I don't think it is just like one way is right
No.
or wrong. And I think it's really about like gosh, words are fun right now. I feel like
Right.
I just feel like it's such a the best way I can describe it is like what you're pulled to, and I'm like trying
Mhm.
to figure out how to better describe. But once again, for me, it's very much a feeling. Like like so, I'm trying to verbalize a feeling that
Yeah.
like
It's hard.
what the magnet, like what you're being pulled to, what you're
Mhm.
drawn to, what feels right, and I know that sounds such like a simple concept, but like when people put things that way, sometimes you lose people because it's like what feels right. We have so much doubt in our minds at times,
Mhm.
and our in the background noise and all the things swirling around. Like it's very hard to like quiet to such an extent where you're just feeling,
Right.
and you're
But
able
when you're
to hear
in
that.
flow,
You're just
I
pulled to
think
it.
most people would experience that feeling, right?
Yeah,
It's just you
you
are
just
present
pull.
in the moment and you are going with the flow, and the universe is like a river carrying you wherever you need to go kind of
Yeah,
thing. And you're just
exactly.
there floating and you're like, "Oh, this is nice," Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why it's the best way I can explain it, because when you feel that it's very much like, I think that's probably like the most important part to me. Like I keep
Mhm.
coming back to it, but I'm like, I think that feeling, like at least for how I manifest, that is like the most important part is I feel like I just feel it. I feel that kind of
Right.
drift, that pull. And that's how, I'm like, okay, now I can start thinking like this. I literally probably say something like that to myself, actually.
Mhm.
Like, now I can start thinking like this. Now I'm going to think like this. Now it's time to focus on that. Some variation of something like that. And I begin to put more energy toward it. And while I might not do something specific, that's
Right.
how, I go about it. And so I don't know. I really feel like when we look into manifestation, I know the three formulas for it, but I also do feel like there might be times where, depending, like this is where I am, right? So I mentioned before, like I'm not sure I always do it the same way either.
Right.
And like now that I'm keeping a more open perspective on it, I'm like, oh gosh, does that include my art? Oh no. Like, there might be quite a few more
Mhm.
times I have been in many different ways. So I'm not sure I'm the best record keeper here for that. But I will say that, like, in that regard, I do feel that kind of getting closer to connecting to that manifestation. I think that there are times where how you do it yourself can really shift and change,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that it's not like, even for not only is it not one size fits all, but like even your own way
Hmm.
that you do it might shift and evolve situation to situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in kind of closing this uh episode, if you're struggling with manifestation, that's okay, because I feel like it's one of those things where, like with a lot of practices, you kind of have to find what works for you. Obviously for the both of us, it's more, when we're not even like actively manifesting is when we do our best manifestation. When we are in flow, when we are present, when we are working with the universe and trusting the universe, source, or God, or whatever, you decide to connect with, that's when we have the easiest time of manifesting, I would say, when it comes in more naturally, when it, just is brought in. But yeah, there are definitely ways to actively manifest. Maybe it's kind of like a passive versus an active manifestation, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But there are definitely ways to, put energy into like a specific thing, right? You have candle
I
magic.
really love your distinction in that, because that's pretty much exactly what it is. The
Yeah, it's like
versus
active versus passive. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of feeling when that feels right. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, I got in my own way because I was like, oh no, I just passive, I just do it this way and it works and it's in flow and it just feels right. I don't think about it. Right.
Hmm.
But like, I think at times, there are times where I have thought, maybe I should, I don't know, try harder.
Right.
Put more energy into this. Maybe I should, I don't know, like actually put some intention and will. And I'm like, but what's meant to be will be. And I kind of go, okay, well, if it flows to me, it does. If it doesn't, and it's not that I won't put intention or energy into things. I absolutely do. Like, someone gets hurt, I send prayers. If someone's upset or hurt, I try to send
Right.
angels and guides. Like, I try to like help in whatever way feels appropriate to the person, situations, energies, whatever. But at the same time, there is definitely like this point where I don't know if I felt a push. Yeah, actually, to be honest, that's what it feels like. One's a pull and
Yeah.
one's a little bit like a nudge, a push, like someone
Right.
just put you in the back a little bit. And it's like, you see that over there? And you're like, oh yeah, cool. And then like,
Mhm.
I'm like, well, if it flows to me, it flows to me, right? And then
Right.
like, right. And so like, I think that's where these questions kind of stem for, because I think like during different cycles of my life and different cycles of patterns, and possibly with the world, going back to your network web matrix concept of
Mhm.
manifestation, I do think that, there are times where we do need to take more active stance too.
And I do want to quickly just say that, like, even with what we consider passive manifestation, we still have to do things to achieve it, right? Like
Yes, that's
but
true.
yes, it's not just like if I wanted to meet someone new, I would not just sit in my house all day every day, because I mean, I guess technically someone could knock on my door, but it would be easier for the universe to bring in someone new if I also go out and do things that I am already feeling called or pulled or pushed to do.
Yes.
And so it is very much a symbiotic working relationship, essentially, with the universe. So yeah, so that was our episode on manifestation. I hope you enjoyed it. And
Happy manifesting.
yes, happy
Woo!
manifesting. Woo woo.
Yes, in whatever way you choose to do it, just
Yes.
remember to make sure that you're focusing your highest and best, and you're coming from a place not of ego or fear, but a place of connection and alignment and flow.
Yes.
So with
Yes.
that,
And I'm sending love and light to everyone as well. Mwah. Love
Yes.
you.
Bye.
Bye.